If you are interested in learning how to keep your children and your whole family as healthy as possible, you clicked on the right video. Welcome, I'm Dr. Cori Stern, and this is my channel, Take Control of Your Health. And today I have a wonderful guest that I feel so honored took the time to come and talk to us. This is one of my colleagues, Dr. Brian Stenzler, who's also a chiropractor like me, and who has written a book about this topic. And Dr. Brian, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your book?
Sure, Dr. Stern. Thank you so much for having me. So the book is called Dream Wellness, The 5 Keys to Raising Kids for a Lifetime of Physical and Mental Health. And dream is not just an aspirational word in a title, but it actually represents the 5 keys to the wellness lifestyle, being diet, relaxation, exercise, being an adjustment, and mental wellness. And well, I'm sure we'll talk about that later on in the interview. But a little bit about me: I practiced chiropractic. I was a pediatric and family wellness chiropractor for over 23 years. I had 2 wellness centers in New York on Long Island. And you'll hear that in my accent, that matches yours, Dr. Stern. And then 15 years in San Diego. I had 3 wellness centers there, all called Dream Wellness. And now I've recently moved to Bradenton, Sarasota area, Florida, where I'm working on basically doing, podcast interviews and doing all the book tour stuff, getting out there, doing lots of summits, and just creating lots of content for families, parents, to help raise their kids as naturally and healthfully as possible.
That is fantastic. Yeah. So I took a look at your book. You also have your own health channel. We'll put a link to the book and the health channel in the description of the video so that people can check it out. So let's start by talking about, I know there are certain foods or additives, or what do we want to call them? Bad stuff that you strongly recommend that people do not allow their children to eat. And we know also that we don't think adults should eat these things either, and talked extensively about a lot of this on other videos. And you also have videos about it for people to really delve into it. But let's name the list that you put together.
These are the list of my 5 deal breakers. And people always ask, I literally just did video blogs on these the last 4 or 5 weeks, because everybody's been asking, why should we avoid corn syrup or high fructose corn syrup? And what is the difference between corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup? Because, manufacturers are always trying to trick people and all this other stuff. So corn syrup is one of them. Hydrogenated oils is one of them. Artificial colors, those artificial food dyes, that's one of them. What was the other? There was corn syrup, hydrogenated oils.
Artificial sweeteners.
Colors. What's that?
Artificial sweeteners.
Artificial sweeteners, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one that I always talk about, like, how does this fit into diet, is gossip. So we don't allow gossip into our diet either. So when I explain, like how does that fit into diet? That's because I define diet as everything that goes into your body from the outside world to the inside world. So it's everything you eat, drink, taste, touch, smell, feel, hear. All the movies you watch and all the people you spend time with is just as much part of your diet as the food you consume. So you have those 4 food items that are found in like almost everything in the United States, which is horrible, and gossip, because gossip is poison.
Yeah, negative thoughts, negative viewpoints, all of that. I agree with you. It makes the toxic things you're eating even more toxic.
That's right. And when it comes to toxicity in our lives, Jim Rohn, motivational speaker, said you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. So if you're spending time with toxic people, not only putting toxic ingredients into your body, you're going to become toxic. You and I are of similar generations. We talked about that before. You probably remember the old computer term GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Well, if you put garbage into your body, what do you think you're going to get out? Garbage. And there you go.
Yeah, one of the things that I teach patients that I work with from day one is to think about what their body is actually made out of, right? So the way that I present it, and people really have a huge aha moment when they think about this. Your body is made out of cells. Your entire body is made out of cells. Every part of you is made out of cells. And your cells are always dying. but the reason you're not dead is because you're growing new ones. And what does your body use? What material does your body use to grow new cells? And that has to do with what you just said. So the body uses food, nutrition, what you eat and what you drink, and what you breathe. So if you're eating and drinking and breathing garbage, your body is going to be made out of garbage. And if you're eating and drinking and breathing nutrient dense stuff, then your body is going to actually be made out of good quality tissue, and it's going to work, right? So if it's made out of garbage, it stops working. One or more of your organs will break down. So that's not something that you learn in school. And most people don't know this, and they don't think about it. They do not think about why they eat. They do not think about the function of food in their body. Most people have a vague idea that food is for energy, but it's not just for energy. It's actually what your body is made out of.
That's right. Our tissues, our body, like you said it so perfectly. It's pretty much the way I explain it too. We're made up of trillions and trillions and trillions of cells. Those cells make up tissues. Tissues make up organs, muscles, and glands. Organs, muscles, and glands make up you. And so you are the result of it. And it's funny because you were, trying to think of the word before about how to define those bad things, right, that we consume. And one of the things I mentioned in my book is that I do my best to not say good or bad. I use the terms constructive, destructive, or neutral. And so I just tell people, I'm like, just put whatever it is that you're putting into your life in one of three categories. Is it constructive? Is it going to contribute to overall health and well-being? And is it going to be an energy drainer or an energy gainer, right? Is it destructive? Is it going to take away from your health and vitality? Or is it something that's just neutral? It's not so good for you. It's not so bad for you, but it doesn't really enhance, but it doesn't take away. An example of that would be like iceberg lettuce. There's very little nutrition in iceberg lettuce. So it's kind of neutral, but it's certainly better than having chocolate cake, so if you do the comparison there. So that's what I always go with: constructive, destructive, or neutral.
That's great. I really like that. And I say that to patients as well. Is it adding to your overall health or detracting from it? Right. One of the benefits of iceberg lettuce, though, for people that are chronically dehydrated and don't drink enough water, there's lots of fluid in there too. So it's a way
fiber. Of course, there's fiber in it too.
Right. It's a way of getting a little bit of that into your body. So yeah, great. So with the topics of corn syrup, I did watch your video on that. So you explain it in enough detail that, I think everybody knows that corn syrup is bad in the US. So I have viewers from all over the world. In the US, almost all corn is genetically modified. And when you refine corn to the degree that it becomes corn syrup, it is in the very destructive category of items and something to be avoided. And then, of course, high fructose corn syrup is worse. Right. It's more destructive, if we're going to use your language. And high fructose corn syrup is one of the primary causes of fatty liver and what we call metabolic syndrome, where all your hormone organs stop working properly. It's one of the main causes, and it's in so many things, whether it's corn syrup or high fructose corn syrup. It's in so many things. It's the first ingredient in pancake syrup. I have this real thing about pancake syrup. It just drives me crazy because so many people really think that pancake syrup is maple syrup. Maple syrup comes from a tree. It's part of nature. Pancake syrup is corn syrup or high fructose corn syrup with artificial flavor and color and other chemicals in it. And one of the artificial colors in it is caramel coloring, which is carcinogenic. And people feed this to their children. And it's very important that you start reading labels and avoid anything with corn syrup for your kids.
Yeah, extremely important. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And, the shame of it is, kids are medicated for all these different problems these days, whether it's for attention deficit disorder or obesity, whatever it is. But the parents are constantly giving their kids these substances that are getting them wired, that's making them gain weight. And one of the things with high fructose corn syrup, as I mentioned in the blog, is that you don't feel satiated. You don't ever feel full. So you want more and more and more. And so parents, if you're watching this right now, I am begging you, please stop poisoning your kids. I know it's a very strong word to use, but you are doing that. You're poisoning your children with that. And I have no problem saying that this is the hill I'm willing to die on. Corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and the other things that I talked about, it's poison. Please stop.
I say the same thing and feel the same way. I feel very strongly about protecting children and, creating another generation of children that will be able to produce healthy babies, right? Because that's not the direction we're headed in right now. And I've talked about this in other videos too. But there was something else that you said that I wanted to jump on. And I just want to take a minute to say that my dogs are not behaving today, and they're sitting one on each side of me, and they may start to bark any minute. So if that happens, Doc, I'm just going to put myself on mute and let you continue talking. And I apologize in advance about that. So yeah, so getting back to the whole concept of poisoning your children, what you said about children being medicated, children are the fastest growing population in the world to be being put on psychiatric medications, and even very young children, 5 and under. And I can tell you for sure, because I've been doing this for many years, working with children and nutrition, is that children do not have deficiency of Adderall. They have nutritional deficiencies. They are deficient in minerals and good quality fats and protein. And once you start feeding them, the hyperactivity, the attention deficit disorder, the obesity, all of those issues improve. And I've done this many, many times. I'm
These
sure
are
you
easy
have
fixes.
too. Yeah.
They're easy fixes. It's so easy. When you learn to read a label and you know what things you need to avoid, it's easy to replace them with other things. I mean, heck, I don't think sugar is so good for somebody, but I would take sugar over corn syrup any day of the week. And so there are lots of substitutes out there. But the truth of the matter is, nobody was born with a sweet tooth where you should actually feel that you need sweets. It's something that we acquire a taste to. And for parents out there that might be listening that have young children, if you don't give them sugar, they don't know what they're missing. So there you go. You don't have to give them the birthday cake on their first birthday and just have to shove it down their throats and think that they're going to enjoy it because I want them to love me so much they're going to get a taste of cake. They don't know what it is. And it's a drug, and we need to minimize that completely.
It's actually more addictive than cocaine.
It is.
And eating sugar causes more sugar craving. Sugar causes inflammation in the body, and it actually interferes with your body's ability to absorb minerals. Sugar and minerals get into a fight with each other, and only one of them can get into the cell at a time, and sugar is the winner. So when you have a high sugar diet, you're creating mineral deficiency, and mineral deficiency will cause symptoms such as attention deficit hyperactivity and many other things too, depression, anxiety, insomnia. So, the solution is, yes, don't get your kids started with that habit. Find other traditions. Who started, I always bring this up, especially with people that are diabetic, because they will use their birthday as, a reason to eat sugar, which is clearly shortening their lifespan. And I ask them, why why are you celebrating your life by eating something that's going to shorten your lifespan? So, you know, where did the tradition of eating birthday cake start to begin with? And most people don't know. And it's not that hard to start your own new tradition. You don't have to do it the way it's always been done because it's always been done that way. I don't do that anymore. I just found another way. I love birthdays. I love celebrating birthdays, but I'm not going to eat poison cake and, you know, lots of sugar. Now, there are recipes out there. You can make delicious cakes with other ingredients. And, you know, if you need some help with that, we have nutrition coaching. We can offer you. I have a coach that can actually give you delicious recipes. And, you know, if you live close by, she can actually make it for you. So there are solutions to all of this, right? And it takes an effort. It's not something where you just say, all right, we're never going to have birthday cake again. You know, announce to your kids, okay, we're done with celebrating birthdays with cake. No, you can't do it that way. But you just slowly transition, you gradually transition to other ways of doing it. And like you said, if you stop eating sugar, you lose your taste for it. It actually does not taste good after a while. And my patients tell me this all the time. They go back to try to eat it. They're like, how did I ever like that?
You know, you bring up so many great points there because, you know, living a healthy lifestyle should not be about deprivation. It should be about empowerment, and not about so much of what you need to take away, but what you want to add in. You want to add in clean foods, not processed, right? You don't want to have the colorings, the sugars, the artificial flavors, all that other stuff that we had talked about. I always define discipline as when something is deprivation for one, is empowerment for another. So I've always been a very disciplined person, and I feel very empowered when I turn down the colorings on the cake, you know. So if I'm going to celebrate somebody's birthday, and I'm like, all right, fine, this cake doesn't look so bad, I'll have a piece of cake. I'm not going to have a yellow flower on the cake. I'm going to have the cleanest part of the cake that I could possibly find, and probably a small piece. And I don't feel deprived by it. I feel empowered. I'm making really good decisions. And my son, who's 6 years old, learns those same decisions. And my wife, this is the stuff that we encourage in our houses. So when your why is big enough, like so for parents that might be watching this, you might be thinking, oh, everything's fine. I don't have any problems. My kids don't have any problems. And so your why may not be there because you don't realize how important this is. But especially for people who have people suffering at home, whether you yourself, you know, as a parent, you're dealing with a lot of medications or your children are on them, then what you've got to do is just look at the big why. Do you want to continue down this path, or do you want to go a different path of all constructive? And another big problem is, you know, people say everything in moderation. Well, no, not everything in moderation. You can have crack in moderation. I don't think so. So I say, you know, once you lick the lollipop of mediocrity, you'll suck forever. So I say excessive goodness and a little bit of the destructive stuff. But even when you do the destructive stuff, you can make the destructive stuff better. So an example is, you know, and I know, Dr. Stern, that you would totally relate to this. I'm going on a camping trip in a few weeks with my family, you know, out in Colorado. And I know that the other families that we're going with are going to want to make s'mores. What are we going to do? We're going to bring marshmallows that are organic, not made with corn syrup, right? We're going to bring graham crackers that are not refined and have all kinds of junk in them. And we're going to bring chocolate that's actually chocolate and not mocklet. For those of you Friends fans out there that remember the fake chocolate, but everything is like fake chocolate these days. You look at these chocolate bars, they're not even chocolate anymore. So you can take the stuff that's very destructive and make it much less destructive.
And I will say I have done exactly what you said. I've had good quality s'mores. I happen to love them. And yeah, I was thrilled when I found organic marshmallows. So exactly. It was making me laugh when you said that, because I was going to say, I wonder if he's going to talk about organic marshmallows. And then you did. That's awesome. Yep. So aside from food, one of the things that you mentioned in your DREAM acronym is exercise. And I actually want to talk a little bit about that because I think it's a topic that doesn't receive enough attention. Before I do, though, I want to give a shout out to my partner in truth, HATS, which stands for Hardcore Awakened Truth Seekers Movement. And this was inspired into creation amidst hyper political division in the last few years to get away from polarization and bring people together across the political spectrum to the truth and a sense of community that allows us to move forward. And this movement is making great strides in achieving this vision. They have a huge Telegram channel growing by the minute. If you're on Telegram, please check them out. They also have a blog, which I will put a link to in the description, and I contribute to the blog. I write health articles there. And they also have a website where you can get their merchandise, like my wonderful hats, t-shirt, bright orange, one of my favorite colors, and my bright yellow hats mug. They are a terrific organization with great information, and I would be very happy if you would just check them out. So let's talk about exercise. And I think that we even need to kick it down a notch. I don't know if you agree with this, but whoa, there are some kids out there that are not actually moving hardly at all. I have patients that don't move. They don't play physically. They do video games and they do stuff on devices. I have quite a few of these kids in my practice, and all of them are really unhealthy. And I'm very concerned about that. And I've been in practice long enough to see some of these kids end up being sick adults. I have one right now who's 20 years old, and his whole body is caved in because he doesn't move. He sits all day, and he has pain in his, this is called the sternum here. He has pain here because of his posture. And he thinks it's his heart all the time, and it's not his heart. It's his joints and his bones and his muscles that are hurting. And he can't sit up straight because he spent too much time hunched over games. So that's an extreme example of it. But we were talking before we came on about what our childhoods was like, and how, I mean, I would be outside, you know, whenever the weather was good, riding a bike, playing jump rope, playing hopscotch, playing ball in the street. I grew up, you know, in a city, but, you know, so I didn't have access to nature that easily, but I was always outside moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids these days, they're so sedentary, you know. I never really thought it would be that way because, like you said, when we were kids, you took your bicycle everywhere you went. You know, you go to the neighbor's house, you go a couple miles, you don't even think twice about it. I mean, when we were growing up, kids were barely even overweight in the sense of they were just always moving.
That's true.
I mean, like you said, in, you know, the pregame warm up when we were talking, you know, there's so many organized sports, which is really good, but outside of the organized activities that they're doing, they're not moving. And not only is it bad for weight gain, but they're not building coordination. They're not getting muscle tone, dexterity, you know, depending on the age, wherever it's at. There's also a lot of life skills and discipline that children learn by moving their bodies and by participating in physical activity. So, I mean, even when you play cops and robbers and stuff like that, you're running around and you're doing things. Cops and robbers now is on an iPad or a tablet. Right. It's just not okay. So, you know, I've done a bunch of presentations on this about screen wellness. You know, my business is Dream Wellness. I did screen wellness. I play on the words. There's nothing wrong with using screens, but you've got to do it the right way. You got to do it in safe amounts, and it should be in minimal amounts. And when you are on screens, you got to make sure that you're getting up and moving your body. So like during the pandemic, when kids were on the computers for hours upon hours, you know, or adults that are watching this right now, you know, you're on the computer watching, if you're, you know, 20 minutes in or something like that, you got to be standing up and moving your body, do jumping jacks for a second, do a stretch, turn yourself around. We need to constantly be moving. We need it for circulation. It's better for digestion. It's good for our immune systems. We need to be moving our bodies. And if you have kids that are just coming home from school and they're just sitting on the couch and getting on their tablets and playing, some remote game with their friends or watching something on TV, you're setting them up for a poor trajectory of life. So something that really needs to be worked on and taken very seriously now.
One of the things that I try to draw people's attention to is that before there was technology, before there was indoor plumbing and electricity and refrigeration and supermarkets and restaurants, humans had to be constantly moving just to survive. They had to go to a stream to fetch water. They had to chop wood and start a fire to cook. They had to hunt and gather to get food. There was constant physical exertion going on from sunup to sundown. And then sundown, when it got dark, basically you would go to sleep, right? With the rhythm of the planet. And our bodies really have not adapted to technology. We're still designed for that kind of activity. And so I see it as a huge contributory factor to lack of wellness, lack of health. And in both children and adults, as you said, so many of my patients deteriorated when they had to start working from home and they just, got on the computer and didn't move. So some of the solutions that I suggest, as you said, getting up and taking breaks and moving. I recommend sometimes that people get one of those desks that they can stand up or sit down so they can have choices and change position, or even if they have room, a treadmill where they can put their laptop on a treadmill and walk while they're working. And kids can do that too if they have to. Stretches while they're sitting there. You can be doing ankle rotations. You can get one of those floor cycles and be moving while you're actually working, right? And you don't have to just stay still in one position. It's just terrible for you. I don't think God intended for us to sit, honestly, because if you think about it, like that's not part of nature. You were either, people would squat to poop, to give birth, even to eat, they would squat. They would squat. Sitting, on your butt is not good for you. It's not biologically compatible with our bodies.
And, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact, because that's a great segue, because, both of us are trained as chiropractors. And we know that every person on this planet lives their life through their nervous system. Every organ, every muscle, every gland, every tissue, every cell in the body knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, because the brain tells it so. And the way that works is the brain sends electrical messages down the spinal cord, out the nerves to the different body parts so they can function. So your lungs can open and close to breathe, your heart can beat, your stomach can break down food and digest food and all that. And if the brain is not able to communicate with the body breaks down. Well, one of the things that causes that interference of the nervous system are misalignments in the spine. And sitting for long periods of time, that pressure, that weight-bearing pressure on the sacroiliac joints, the sacrum and the low back, that is a major contributing factor to what many chiropractors refer to as subluxations. And so we have to always make sure that not only from the movement standpoint that we're not sitting too much because of all the other things we talked about, but from an alignment standpoint, because our nervous system is dependent on maximum alignment. We can't have maximum nerve integrity without having maximum alignment, and we can't have maximum alignment when we're sitting on our butts all the time.
And that applies to children and adults, to every human, it even applies to animals. I am mostly standing and moving all day long because my job requires that. But sometimes I teach virtual seminars and then I'm sitting for 3 days in a row and I feel awful by the end of those 3 days. But my body clearly knows the difference between motion and stagnation. So but people get used to sitting and they don't realize that that becomes your new normal. You think that that's how you're supposed to feel. And you can't tell the difference until you actually start moving more. There's two more things but we're almost out of time. But before we end, I wanted you to first mention you talked about a dream. What is it?
The Dream Score. Yeah.
Dream Score. And then I just want to mention a couple of my favorite products for kids, but go ahead and let's hear about the Dream Score.
Yeah. So for people that are watching this right now, they may be thinking, oh my gosh, Dr. Stenzler and Dr. Stern are like, they're going to limit me from everything in my life that's fun. I don't even know where to start. Well, I have this free lifestyle assessment tool called the Dream Score, and you could get it. Dr. Stern will give you the links. It's dreamwellnessbook.com or dreamwellness.com/dream score. And basically it's like 85 questions all about your lifestyle. It's not going to ask about your heart rate, your blood pressure, your body weight, or anything like that. It's going to want to know, why is your blood pressure the way it is? Why are your relationships possibly strained? Why are you not able to sleep at night? It's going to ask all questions that get us that answer, and you'll get a report immediately. Again, it's free. The report will basically show you whether you're at, like if you're an iPhone, for example, whether your battery is depleting or is it charging. It's an indicator of your current health status, and it'll also serve as a predictor of your children's current and future health. So by answering these questions, you get this report immediately. And if you decide to get the book, it will actually walk you through my book, where my book is 450 pages. You can actually get through the book in under an hour, because it'll tell you exactly where you need to work and what things you need to work on first. Because again, 450 pages could be overwhelming. Just this 30 some odd minute interview could be overwhelming. But let's see where you are in your wellness walk. Take the Dream Score and then make the changes you need to make.
Fantastic. I love that. And I saw your book is also available on Kindle. So we'll put a link to that in the description of the video. You might want to consider making an Audible book out of it too. So people who won't read can listen. People, are not sitting down long enough to read. So multitasking, listening to your book while they, let's say, make dinner, right?
Part of the plan, for sure.
Yes. Great. So I wanted to just mention too, everybody knows my favorite supplement company is Standard Process, and I love it because it's made out of food and it's excellent quality. They're the oldest nutrition supplement company in the United States. Unfortunately, it's not available in other countries. However, I've had plenty of people from other countries reach out to me, and we can ship anything to you. I'll put my email in the description. It's questions@drcori.com, and we can help you out with any of your health needs there. But I want to just screen share something, because there is a new product coming out for children. And it is the first Standard Process children's immune supplement. So I'm really excited about it. It's wafers and supposed to taste good. I haven't tasted it yet. It's coming out, I think, next week. So I'm eager to try it. And then my other very important favorite product, calcium lactate. It's just some good quality calcium, and it's a fever reducer. So one of the things that we didn't mention about artificial sweeteners is that they are in baby Tylenol, baby whatever, Advil, I don't even know, because I don't use any of that stuff, but all of it has artificial sweetener, artificial color, artificial flavor. So the drug itself is already poison, because all drugs have side effects, and Tylenol or acetaminophen is the #1 cause of acute liver failure in the world. But in addition to that, you're giving your kids these poisons. So if you use this, and it comes in a powder that's highly dissolvable for kids, if you use this will get rid of the fever. And if you have enough of this in your tissue, and I take this every day, you don't get fevers. Your body does not need a fever when it has enough good quality calcium. So most people don't know that calcium is really important for the immune system. It's not just for your bones. Talked about it in other videos. So thank you so much, Doc, for coming on the show. It was really a pleasure to speak to you, and probably have a lot more to talk about. So might want to get together again. And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button, because it does help other people to find it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, because that is my reward for doing this work. And lastly, and most importantly, if you know somebody that would benefit from this information, please share the video with them. And until we see you again, stay healthy.